to the world. Subscribe now to the Hot 97 YouTube channel. It's Ebro in the Morning with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg.
All right, look, it's Ebro in the Morning. This young lady, she's come a long way, and now she's the Attorney General of the entire state of New York. We have not had a chance to have a convo with her since she got the office and got the job, but we were definitely on her side on the way there. Tish James, Attorney General, is back on Ebro in the Morning. Good morning, the AG.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Hot 97.
How you doing?
Are you doing well?
I'm doing well, and you?
We're great.
I'm excited. 24 hours.
So now, Tish.
Yeah.
Before we get into election and everything going on tomorrow,
Yes.
all the work. There's a lot of work that you've been doing at the state level. You're dealing with the NRA and their corruption inside the NRA, inside the Trump Organization as a organization that operated in the state of New York. You've dug in there. You've also dug in on NYPD issues around how they've handled protesters, their corruption, and their transparency with the NYPD and what the voters are asking the NYPD to give us access to. In all of those things, you seem very, very excited today. What are you most excited about?
So, the wind is blowing this morning. I could hear it through my windows. And what that means to me, that change is coming. And I'm excited about tomorrow. I'm excited about the fact that as of today, 3.2 million New Yorkers have already voted. 2.2 have voted through early voting, and about 1 million by absentee ballots. So that means there's 12 million New Yorkers. 1 in 4 have voted. And tomorrow, it all goes down. And there's nothing more precious in a free society than the right to vote. And we've got to exercise it. And I'm really excited about the fact that individuals are recognizing that this administration represents a threat to all that I believe in, and I'm sure all that you believe in, Ebro, and all of your followers, and our values. And so we've got to go out there and vote. We've got to vote for the ancestors. We've got to vote for all those who died and bled for the right to vote. We've got to vote against this administration for all of its policies, its racist policies. And we've got to stand up for the next generation of individuals and show them the way, that the power is our vote, that the vote is our voice, and that we need a seat at the table, and that no one is above the law, and that I, as just a woman from Brooklyn, you just can't be afraid of all of those haters and all of the noise out there. The reality is I've got to stand up for what is right and what is and stand up for my beliefs. And my beliefs is bringing our country together, making sure that we're more unified, standing up for immigrants, standing up for those who are locked out of the sunshine of opportunity, standing up for those who are living in poverty right now, standing up for those who don't believe that they have a voice, standing up for all of those individuals who are struggling, immigrants right now, standing up for those families who unfortunately have been separated from their children at the border, and those 500 babies who can't find their families. I'm definitely standing up for them, for the dreamers, for women whose reproductive rights right now are a threat, for those with pre-existing conditions, because the Affordable Care Act right now, they seek to repeal it, standing up for those African countries that this administration referred to as a-hole countries, standing up for Muslims, standing up for everybody, standing up for people right now who are unemployed, people who are suffering from COVID-19. I'm standing up for all of them, and I'm sure you are standing up for them as well, which is why I love Hot 97, because you speak truth to power and you put forth issues that no one else is discussing. So that's why I'm excited. I wake up every morning with this fire in my belly. This fire in my belly is going to march tomorrow down to the polls and vote.
Now,
she's ready, boy.
Ready, son. Yo, so Tish, first of all, appreciate the endorsement, and we love you back. Let's start with voter suppression in New York City. Yes. Have you heard of any? Has anything come across your desk where we have had, because it's election board that we have at the state level, and when you get down to local precincts, there are definitely things that we've seen in the past, voting machines showing up that are broken, power cords not there, power's going out, not enough sites due to, calculations not being done right, or people not filling out the census, so the election board claims they didn't know how many polling sites have, et cetera, et cetera. What have you seen in this election season?
So, the Board of Elections in the state of New York has its issues, and a number of individuals and elected officials have called for its complete overhaul. And I understand that. And it is a form of voter suppression, but subtle. I think it more has to do with mismanagement and incompetence more than anything else. In New York State, what we have seen is, again, in Brooklyn, over 100,000 ballots were sent out to individuals with wrong names. That was a vendor problem that was corrected. We have seen in New York, we've seen robocalls that have gone out, not upstate New York primarily, but to other states as well. Racist robocalls, basically urging individuals not to vote. And the individual who is responsible for that is under criminal charges in 2 other states. And also there was a civil case brought by some civic organization, and that individual and his company is currently before a federal court judge. And we are also looking into that matter as well. We've seen long lines. Our voter protection hotline, 1-800-771-7755. The number one complaint is long lines, and the fact that individuals who have requested absentee ballots has not received them. That has been our request. We've seen rallies. We've seen rallies by both sides all throughout the state and all throughout the city. We have not seen any militia. We've not seen anyone bring any firearms to the polling sites. We've not seen, as of yet, any individual trying to prevent any one particular group from voting. We've not seen anyone challenge people who are standing online. We have seen electioneering, but that happens every election
And
season.
electioneering is when people are campaigning too close to an election site.
Correct. And you cannot electioneer within 100 feet of an entrance to a polling site. And so we've seen, your garden variety type of complaints, but no outright
crazy
voter suppression like what we're seeing in Texas and North Carolina and Pennsylvania and Mississippi. And of course, we brought the lawsuit against the Postal Service, which is why, obviously we have been urging individuals not to mail in their absentee ballots, but to actually drop them off.
So as the Attorney General of the state of New York, and Trump having an organization that operates out of this state, what can you tell us today about the corruption and mismanagement of that organization that I've read in the papers your office is pretty aggressive on holding him and his family accountable for?
Well, we've been investigating alleged financial improprieties. And if you listen to Eric Trump and others, they would argue that the only reason why the Attorney General of New York is engaging in this investigation is because she's biased and because of some sort of political bent. The reality is that Michael Cohen, who was once the attorney for President Trump, laid bare these allegations, and we have an obligation and a duty to investigate because the Trump Organization does business in the state of New York. And so I'm only following the facts and the allegations and applying it to the law. And we are investigating, as is our responsibility and our duty under New York state law. The Trump Organization, and specifically Eric Trump, initially cooperated with our investigation, and then decided not to cooperate and came up with all types of excuses and a number of defenses, a number of immunity claims. We filed a motion to compel. We were successful in that motion, and Eric Trump came in and he was questioned, and they did submit documents, and we are reviewing those documents.
How long does something like that take place, or how long does that take? And what is the end result that your office is looking for? Is this something that is finable? Is this an imprisonable offense? Like, what level, when you say an investigation, where does this land? What's the end game here?
Well, let me just say it's a civil investigation. It's not criminal.
Got it.
The criminal investigation is being investigated by the District Attorney of Manhattan, DA Vance. Our investigation is civil in nature. And I cannot give you a timetable, and I cannot tell you our end game or our findings at this point in time. All I can tell you is that the investigation is ongoing.
How different is your job depending on whether or not Trump is reelected or not?
Our investigation is ongoing, whether or not he's the president or not. And so it has to do with the Trump Organization. And we, again, as you know, Michael Cohen laid bare some financial improprieties, and we are investigating those financial improprieties, and it has nothing to do with the president's current position.
How powerful is the statute qualified immunity, and how hard is it going to be for us as voters and people who want to see it gone to get it gone?
Well, qualified immunity, there's a number of defenses that individuals can raise when individuals are seeking certain documents and seeking to investigate and or interview certain witnesses. And there were a number of defenses that the Trump Organization has raised, but our investigation and our investigatory powers are pretty broad under state statute. And so we were successful in overcoming those claims. And as I indicated before, we have already questioned Mr. Trump, Eric Trump, that is, and we have sought a number of documents and they have provided them, and the investigation continues.
Well, and even outside of that particular investigation, the statute in general, right, which prevents, the way I understand it is this is what qualified immunity on a federal level and I guess on a state level is what prevents an attorney general or the federal government to prosecute a police officer while that person is still on the job, to go after a governor, to go after a mayor, or any of these elected positions or city level, state level positions, federal level positions. They're protected by their job.
Yeah.
And so there's a larger convo that I want to continue to put out there about getting this statute removed, because I do believe we are living in a time where just because you are an officer of the law, you're human. And you will also make bad decisions while on the job, and you may even be more corrupt and use your position to do harm to individuals, and then nothing can happen to you.
So the immunities that we were talking about previously relates to certain privileges that the Trump Organization has put forward, like attorney-client privilege. In relation to qualified immunity, what you're speaking of is when police officers engage in misconduct, brutality, and even they're involved in civilian killings. You cannot sue them personally because there is such a thing as qualified immunity. And in my capacity, individuals sue me for a wide range of issues. And again, qualified immunity protects me as well. And so there have been suggestions, there have been some elected officials, there have been calls for some sort of change in this qualified immunity statute in the state of New York, which protects public officers, which includes members of the police department all across the state of New York. And so and the argument has been that they should be personally responsible for their wrongdoing.
And where do you stand on that? How do you, because obviously it would affect you, it would affect the governor, it would affect everybody, but where do you stand?
We are still reviewing the statute right now. We've come up with some recommendations, and we are still pursuing those options, and we'll put forth some recommendations when the legislature reconvenes. Got it.
What's going on with the NRA, which started in the state of New York, which you have investigated very heavily for them using or inappropriately using their funds and how they've operated? Where is that case at?
So it's important that individuals understand that the case against the NRA has to do with not-for-profit laws. The NRA, believe it or not, is a not-for-profit organization that was formed under the laws of the state of New York in the late 1800s. And they, at one point in time, had an office here in New York. They now, their main office is in Virginia. But they still conduct business here in the state of New York, so we still have jurisdiction, and we have jurisdiction primarily because they incorporated here in the state of New York. And what they did was they violated the not-for-profit law by, again, using the funds, diverting funds for a certain charitable mission. They used it for personal uses. In addition to that, there are a number of whistleblowers who came forth with complaints to Wayne LaPierre and a number of other executives on the NRA, and he chose to ignore them. And what Wayne LaPierre did was he bought the silence of individuals, the silence of individuals who were part of his executive team and the chairs of committees who are responsible, one, for investigating whistleblowers, for maintaining the charitable organization and making sure the charitable organization was used for a certain purpose, and that there was no financial impropriety. Unfortunately, they violated all of those regulations. They failed to engage in reporting. And so what we're seeking is that the NRA be dissolved, and that any funds that are left over be distributed to organizations with similar charitable functions and charitable missions, and that the 4 individuals under the leadership of Wayne LaPierre be banned from serving on any not-for-profit organizations in the state of New York, and that there be some accounting for all of the funds that have been, diverted for personal uses. Wayne LaPierre and his executive basically lived this really luxurious life. They went on several trips, they bought real estate, they lived in mansions, and all of this was from contributions from individuals who were basically making contributions to the NRA because they believe in the Second Amendment and their right to defend themselves.
Tish James, the Attorney General of New York State, on with us right now. I think we should probably leave and talk about the NYPD panel that you had and what's going on with the NYPD. You were very, seemingly heavy-handed in your response to them with how they dealt with peaceful protesters. And the videos that you saw, you even held and allowed the community to call in, and you listened to people, as well as I think there's audio of you and the chief of police, you questioning him and not getting some clear responses. Where are things at with with your office and the NYPD, and your expectations of them moving forward?
Well, thank you for that. We had over 100 witnesses who testified at our hearing. We also had the police commissioner Shea, testified as well. And the testimony of those who engaged in peaceful protest and the testimony of Police Commissioner Shea was in stark contrast. We issued a preliminary report, and the preliminary report focuses on issues such as the NYPD basically corralling individuals and engaging in what they refer to as kettling, where individuals are basically trapped. You have officers on one side of the protesters and officers behind the protesters, and they have nowhere to go. 2, police officers who unfortunately did not respect legal observers, and legal observers were arrested as well when they were supposed to be exempt. You had essential workers who got caught up in the protest who were arrested as well. You had police officers who indiscriminately used pepper spray on protesters, and in some cases used their vehicles and their batons. And in one particular case, 2 elected officials, Senator Myrie and Assemblywoman Richardson from Brooklyn, were both pepper sprayed and arrested. There were a number of violations, and they were all captured in a preliminary report that we put forward, which is public and individuals can read. We are going to be issuing a final report. As you know, the Legal Aid Society and the Civil Liberties Union has already filed a lawsuit seeking damages. We are, again, considering our options at this point in time. And so I would urge you to stay tuned.
Thank you very much for that. Attorney General Tish James, thank you for joining our program today, Brooklyn's Own. Your job, when do you go? When do we vote for Attorney General again?
In 2022.
In 2022.
Yes.
How has the experience been thus far?
I love it. It's critically important that individuals understand the role of attorney generals. And it's important that everyone understand that attorney generals right now are defending democracy, particularly Democratic attorney generals we filed a number of cases against this administration. I would argue that New York and California, my good friend Attorney General Becerra from California, we filed the most cases against this administration on a wide range of issues: defending the Affordable Care Act, defending Dreamers in DACA, defending the census, defending reproductive rights, defending the environment, defending low-income families, defending this administration from discriminatory laws such as the disparate law, which will allow individuals to live wherever they want to live, including the suburbs, Mr. President. And again, just defending the fact that New York State, under this president, has been declared a sanctuary city, that this city has been declared a city where a terrorist city, where we have been denied the right to deduct taxes under state and local tax. He capped us at $10,000. We have been challenging all of these cases, and I'm happy to report that we have been winning. Our scorecard right now is 85% victory against this administration. 85% of the cases that we have filed, we have been victorious. And I just enjoy my job. I enjoy the law because it is both a sword and a shield against this administration. And it's important that, again, we restore normalcy, decency, and respect for the law to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House, or otherwise known as Black Lives Matter Plaza. So it's important that everyone stand up and vote tomorrow. And I'm also concerned, Ebro, that there have been reports that young black men and young black Latino men are not voting in the numbers that they should. And right now, I say to all the black women who are the backbone of the Democratic Party, bring your man to vote tomorrow. That's what we've got to do. Bring your man to vote.
Thank you, Tish.
Tish, thank you so much. Attorney General Tish James from Brooklyn, New York, and representing the state of New York. Thank you so much for your time. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully.
Thank you.